starting off explosive at the very top. I promise I'm not being hot takey for it, and I can't wait to have this conversation because I was even shocked at the result I had for the number one wide receiver going into the 2025 season. And to start tier one, I have A.J. Brown from the Philadelphia Eagles. Right after him, I have Justin Jefferson at number 2, and I have Jamar Chase from the Cincinnati Bengals at number 3. Now, this is in tier 1, okay? So I want to start the conversation by saying these are the 3 wide receivers who I believe are completely scheme independent, completely quarterback independent, and ones who you can build an offense around no matter what offense they are in, no matter what player is throwing them the football. There's a little bit of that which you have to lean on, right? We look at sort of the quarterback situations and how they differ with these 3 guys. But in my opinion, you can ask these 3 wide receivers to be absolute alphas in any situation, in any scheme with any quarterback, and they can deliver for you. So before I dig into exactly why I have A.J. Brown at number 1 at the top of this list, how do you feel about these 3 being the receivers that I have in tier 1? Would you go even less? Would you go maybe one of these guys alone? Would you say that there's more that we would add to this list? What do you think about this tier 1 of names?
I think to have those 3 in a tier of their own is fine. I think there's a couple other guys in the next tier that certainly would have arguments, right? But I think when you look at these 3, you look at guys who can do anything on a football field. They have their own little specialty each to themselves, right? A.J. Brown, he had the highest receiving grade against single coverage this past year. He was obviously a great player in Tennessee, but he's just hit a different gear the last 3 years in Philadelphia. Now that they use him, it just feels like right now he's the most uncoverable one-on-one wide receiver, right? Anytime the Eagles see press man coverage and the box is loaded to stop Saquon Barkley, the ball's getting over the top to A.J. Brown, right? And everybody in the stadium knows it, and nobody can stop it, right? We know he can do things after the catch. He can do it at the catch point. Still a good route runner, even for such a big player, right? So I think I can see the argument for any of the 3 of them. Jefferson, I would argue, since he's been in the league, has been the best receiver in football. And Jamar Chase winning the Triple Crown last year, racking up the volume that he does, obviously, for Cincinnati. His grade was a little lower this year due to a high amount of drops, but we know what Jamar Chase can do all over the formation. So I totally get these 3 being in tier 1. The argument for that number 1 spot could be endless. We could just talk about these 3 guys all day, but I think you're right. These are the 3 best receivers in football right now.
I think they are. I really do. And I sort of want to break down exactly how I got to A.J. Brown at the very top of the list, and I promise it wasn't just for it to be hot takey, but I have A.J. Brown as the best wide receiver in the NFL, okay? His receiving grade over the last 3 years. So I'm gonna go with 2 different examples here. I'm gonna go with a 3-year sample size. I'm gonna go with wins above replacement or wins above average, the metric that we have there, the receiving grade, some statistics within it. But then I'm also gonna look at what just happened last year. Okay, what have you done for me lately as well? So from a 3-year sample size, A.J. Brown is the highest graded wide receiver that we have amongst these 3. I think Tyreek Hill technically is a little bit higher, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, which we're going to get to in a second, is a little bit higher as well. But A.J. Brown, amongst these 3 wide receivers, he has the highest receiving grade at a 92.7. When you look at his overall receiving yards, yes, Jamar Chase has missed a little bit of time here and there, but Jamar Chase has played, and we're just looking at regular season here, Jamar Chase has actually played 350 more receiving snaps, and yet A.J. Brown has more receiving yards than he does at over 4,100, and Jamar Chase has just over 4,000. So he beats him in receiving yards there. Yards per reception, A.J. Brown is number 1 amongst these 3 wide receivers at a 15.1. Receiving touchdowns, yes, Jamar Chase is higher, but A.J. Brown is second in front of Justin Jefferson with 25 compared to Justin Jefferson's 23. When you look at total drop passes over the last 3 years of these 3 wide receivers, A.J. Brown has the least at just 11. When you look at yards per route run, A.J. Brown has the most of these 3 wide receivers at 2.57. And then when you look at average depth of target, still 12.7. A.J. Brown, once again, number 1. And then forced missed tackles per reception, A.J. Brown, number 1 amongst these 3 wide receivers at 55. So the 3-year sample size is totally there in A.J. Brown's favor. And then when you look at just a 1-year sample size, so just what they did last year, and remember, Minnesota had a great offense the way that they had it with Kevin O'Connell winning 14 games and Sam Darnold playing the way that he was. You look at Jamar Chase, Triple Crown winner, had the most receptions, had the most receiving yards, had the most receiving touchdowns, and yet A.J. Brown, Number one amongst these three wide receivers just last year in total receiving grade at a 91.6. And then this is the one that I really love. Whether you are looking at a 3-year sample size or a 1-year sample size, just what happened last year, A.J. Brown is the number one wide receiver in the NFL when it comes to receiving grade and statistics against single coverage situations. That's why I understand A.J. Brown doesn't play a ton in the slot. He's more on the outside, so when it comes to versatility there, it's a little bit less than what it would be with some of these other guys. But when you put A.J. Brown in situations where it's their best cover corner against him, he wins almost all the time. And when they need a catch, they go to A.J. Brown, whether it's third down, whether it's in the red zone, whether they need a home run play, the Eagles go to A.J. Brown. And Jalen Hurts has had good moments throughout the last 3 years. I'm not going to say that he hasn't, but he's not the quarterback to say like Joe Burrow is, right? And so he has been a little bit up and down, and yet the constant the entire time, no matter where Jalen Hurts has been in a, man, he's on a hot streak, or man, he's in a little bit of a slump here, this dude produces. And so there are so many numbers that I look at, the yards after catch stuff and the touchdown stuff. You figure that Jamar Chase should be number one, and he is in some of those categories, but A.J. Brown's number two ahead of Justin Jefferson. In the categories where you would look at Justin Jefferson is, okay, maybe it is, no, not yards after catch. It would have been more the contested catch situation for Jamar Chase, but the yards after catch stuff and the missed tackles forced per reception, those would favor Justin Jefferson, and they sometimes do. But then A.J. Brown's number two, right above where Jamar Chase is. So at the very worst, no matter what category or what style of wide receiver you're looking at with these three guys, A.J. Brown is either number one or number two. He's almost never number three amongst these three wide receivers, which is an incredible thing to say, given how different I would say Jamar Chase wins compared to how Justin Jefferson is, or how he wins. So to me, the amount of categories that A.J. Brown has won in over these other two wide receivers over the last 3 years, the 3-year sample size and even the single-year sample size, the wins above replacement, wins above average metric that we have, it all points to A.J. Brown having a higher floor, if you will, than these other two wide receivers, and even at times having the higher ceiling depending on what you were looking at. I did not go into this exercise thinking that I would have A.J. Brown as my number one wide receiver in the NFL, but no matter what metric you look at and no matter what sample size you look at, this is the dude, and he is my number one wide receiver going into 2025.
Yeah, I get it. I think what it speaks to, the receiving grade sometimes, obviously it can be a volume exercise, and Jamar Chase putting up all the numbers and yards, and the Bengals are throwing the ball every play because they have to, but I think it speaks to the efficiency of A.J. Brown, right? And the fact that he does just as much work on 79 catches that a guy like Justin Jefferson does in 105 to 110, that, you know, Jamar Chase had 127 receptions last year in the regular season alone. They didn't even make the postseason. So you talk about a level of efficiency in an offense that wants to have balance, but then they know anytime they want to, they can chuck it up there to A.J. Brown, and he's going to get open. He's going to make contested catches. 19 contested catches last year was 6th most in the NFL as well. So I think the fact that he can do anything anytime he wants, he can do it in an extremely efficient manner. I mean, you just wonder, you imagine if he were to get the volume of those other guys, where the total numbers would be as far as yards and touchdowns. But being that efficient and being that ex-receiver for that offense that obviously just won the Super Bowl, it's just as valuable as what those other two guys do. So I get the argument from an efficiency standpoint for sure. He doesn't necessarily need all of that volume, 170 targets like Jamar Chase got, to put up those types of numbers. So there's an argument for any of the three of them. Like you just mentioned, they're all fantastic players.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of give Brown his flowers there, because again, I sort of went into this, and when I'm making the preliminary list before I start to reorder it, I just wrote like, all right, cool, Justin Jefferson's number one, A.J. Brown's number two, maybe we're throwing Amon-Ra St. Brown in there, or sorry, I would say Jamar Chase number two, all right, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, like you're throwing in names, but the more I researched, the more confident I was that, like you said, sometimes these other wide receivers, it's a volume thing. It's a scheme thing. A.J. Brown's production, and not just production, the two words that I would lean on, one of them you lean on there, efficiency, you use that, and then dominance is the other one. The efficiency and the dominance that A.J. Brown has had over the last 3 years, including this most recent season, I don't think can be denied. And that's why I have him at number one on this list.